And tag number 212, Phelan Searcy out of Chinook, Montana. Tag number 216, Bridger Smith of Payson, Utah. Number 239, Bob Smay of Belgrade, Montana. 205, Violet Browning of Livingston, Montana. And Jamin Anderson, your tag 247. Welcome to you from Riverton, Wyoming. Class number 2, you're going to be on deck. That'll be Zach Watson, number 232. Trevor Williams, number 226. Kenny Bartold, number 243. Cooper Hadley. Hadley Cooper, number 219. Connor Cook, number 230. Josie Almond, number 208. And Clay Harwood, number 224. You are the class that is on deck. You are class number 2. Want to give a shout out to Agribest Feeds, a proud sponsor of the NILE Show. Agribest Feeds is proud to offer Redmond salt that contains 60% trace minerals in their natural balance. Redmond is available with garlic for a natural insect repellent or our stress blend of natural plant extracts that support good gut health and reduce the chance of coccidiosis. Check out our ad on the back of the cover of the NILE Premier magazine, or stop by and visit with Agribest Feeds team at their booth across from the show ring. And if you are feeling like many of us are, maybe just a little bit on the chilly side this Montana fall afternoon, I got a good idea for you. Swing over to the Tri-State Livestock News booth. They've got a bunch of sweatshirts over there that are not only warm and very functional, but they are also very, very good advertisement for our beef industry. Go on over and check them out. They're a fantastic way to show your support for the American Beef Association, as well as to keep yourself warm on a cool fall Montana day. Want to give a special welcome to our judge this morning for the Junior Fed Steer Show, Glenn Martin. Glenn comes to us from Mason, Texas, where his family roots date back to the 1860s. He attended Texas A&M University and was an accomplished collegiate meats and livestock evaluator. Glenn is married to Ray Ann, and they have raised 4 daughters through their ranching lifestyle. The Martin family raises competitive show goats, cattle, and Dorper sheep, and his girls have won Grand or Reserve Grand at more than 60 major livestock shows nationwide. Glenn has evaluated both breeding and market shows in 25 states, including numerous state fairs and various shows at Fort Worth, Houston, Louisville, and the American Royal. He spends countless hours helping youth excel in the livestock world through clinics, seminars, and his Bracing for Success camps. Glenn is always into promoting agriculture and educating others about the animal industry. Mr. Martin, thank you for being with us here in Billings.
Well, we're going to get our ring managed out here. Go ahead and pull on up, son. We're going to get as many of them strung out there. It works better with the camera, and that's how we're going to do this today. And so we'll get the kinks worked out here. Just want to say thank you for the opportunity to sort through your junior fed beef here this afternoon. Had a good time there and enjoyed myself doing that with the market lambs earlier, and it certainly can be cliche, but it isn't here. If we get this is just a glimpse of the quality that we see here this afternoon. It's going to be a lot of fun to sort through. I'm going to tell you what I see in the cattle, how I like them, what I'd like to change, and where I think they compare to each other. I think that's the best way for folks around ringside to understand what a judge is looking at. We show lots of livestock, and sometimes what they say and what I see doesn't fit together. And hey, you may feel that way after I'm done here today, and that's all right. But I'm going to tell you what I see in them, what I like in them, what I'd like to change, and you can place them as you wish. I just get to be an official today and to sign a card at the end of it. But good class here. No point ever was the young man leading off this class ever going to get beat. From when that one hit the surface and came in, let's just talk about him. That's the good-footed, sound, practical one that's got the right kind of look, the right kind of presence here in the ring. He's extra long from his blade forward. He's really long in his hip. He's got the right shape to his feet. He could be bigger-footed. He needs to be stouter-footed for me to just say that's an ideal steer. Deceptively, I thought that thing might be a little flat in terms of how he handled, and he handles a great big back. He's appropriate in terms of his condition for his maturity and his body weight. Lots of good things happening there. He comes to a sounder than the 1 and 2. He's bolder in the forerib than the one that comes to. For me, he's fresher to the touch than the 1 and 2. I like the way his knee sets back in underneath him just a bit more. Like the way he stays square and true in his hock as you get right in behind him. Black Roman comes 2 in class, and one for me that I think genuinely deserves to be here. I question how stout will he be when you get over the top of him. I think he's plenty stout enough in terms of back shape. He's a little leaner than what he needs to be in relation to his maturity. He gets up and twists just at his knee and his feet in front. But you read that one just in terms of balance and proportion and profile. I think he fits nicely with our class winner just in type and kind. He's more elevated. He's stronger top. He's better on his back feet than the one that comes 3. Black Calf in 3, probably a bit more genuine just in terms of back shape and the center of his body. Great big feet and legs. He wants to snap, crackle a bit just on his back too. He's shorter fronted. He's a little trashy down low. Gets a little easy top, rounds at his hip. That one's pretty practical, pretty useful. That's good kind of cattle if you're just a cattle feeding guy, and I like that kind from a practicality standpoint. He might fit a little better than that Black Roan one there in front of him. But for me, he gets a little short fronted, a little shorter coupled, a little plain, if you will. Handles big back, not as juicy and fat as you think he should be. Like to put a little more cover and condition on him. I like him better than the one that comes next just because he's leveler in terms of his hip. Just fits together better in his spine. He is a little softer spine. He's a little softer footed. I think he just handles himself better. Get right in behind him, no question. The black one's bigger in terms of his upper hip and pin set. The chocolate gray steer comes next. One that you like for his added length of spine, but it works a little maybe to his disadvantage. He gets up in his loin. He gets out when you watch him go. He wants to roll and duck his pins. Get right in behind him. He's not as big. He's not as square. Not quite as mobile as that steer that sets directly in front of him. Chocolate beats the peach-colored one because he sets better in his knee. He's more comfortable in his skeleton. He's more limber as he moves. We've got to change that peach-colored one. If you want to make that one, I love the muscle. I love the cage. I love the way that one fits together when you start thinking about we're going to rail those things and take him to the rail. But we have to change him. You read his shoulder. You read his shoulder angle. His knee pulls everything up forward in his skeleton. He does the same thing with his back pastern. Boy, if we can make that one more mobile and limber, son, we can run that one right up there at the front. I like the cage. I like the back shape. I like the upper hip and pin set. I like the stifle shape in that guy. His moderation of size works perfectly. He's going to rail a great carcass. He gives you the best chance of railing a carcass that's going to get closest to the choice grade. No doubt about it. But for me here in this setting, he's not sound enough. there's so much more calf comparative to the Brockle that rounds out our class. You just have to appreciate how big and stout and dense that orange one is. That black one, he's big. He's performed well in terms of frame and length of spine. He's pretty sound. He's sounder than the one directly in front of him. There's not enough to him, not enough width, not enough stoutness, not enough muscle. We got to change all of that to move that one up. Let's put our hands together for these kids in a great Class 1. Hope you see them the way I do.
Congratulations to the top two in the class right there. Bridger Smith with tag number 216 out of Payson, Utah. And at the top of the class, Jamin Anderson, tag number 247 from Riverton, Wyoming. That is going to bring us to class number 2. There are 7 in the class. We welcome from Lander, Wyoming, tag number 232, Zach Weston. From Riverton, Wyoming, tag number 226, Trevor Williams. From Benjamin, Utah, tag number 243, Kinley Bartold. From Powell, Wyoming, tag number 219, that'll be Hadley Cooper. From Huntley, Montana, tag number 230, Connor Cook. Tag number 208 comes to us from Ellensburg, Washington. That is Josie Alamanda. And tag number 224, Clay Harwood of Geyser, Montana. Welcome to the Ford F-150 show ring. Again, those tag numbers right now, 232, 226, 243, 219, 230, 208, and 224. Class number 3, you are on deck. You are tags 204, 235, 214, 206, 240, 200, and 234. Again, class number 3, you are on deck. We do want to give a shout out to Stock Show Secrets, a brand new sponsor here. Stock Show Secret brand supplements have innovated the livestock show industry. Like their competitors, Stock Show Secrets offers performance-based products to make your animal do and look better. But Stock Show Secrets also offers products for a safer show experience, a more rewarding show experience. They believe that no matter how good an animal is, it won't place very well if they cannot show well. That is what makes Stock Show Secrets different. Check them out online on Facebook or on Instagram at stockshowsecrets.com. AgWest Credit Services, thank you to AgWest Credit Services for all the folks with the AgWest Credit for their support of the NILE and the Junior Fed Youth. They're the sponsors of the prizes today for our show. Thank you. And, of course, Town & Country Supply. At Town & Country Supply, it's our job to find the right feed for your animals. We offer feed with quality, guaranteed ingredients made to develop your cows, calves, heifers, steers, and bulls. Supplements are more important for your cattle, and so is finding the right one for your operation. Smart Lick tubs or pelleted complete tubs. Our team of experts can advise you on the program that's right for your livestock. Stop in and see us right here at the NILE and come visit us after this show at our Bridger store, Hardin and Laurel. And don't forget to join us on Monday for the Junior Fed Sale of Champions. There will be a buyer's reception at 3 o'clock with the sale starting at 4 in the Pine Coulee Bulls Arena, located right across the way in the Montana Pavilion. This is a great way to support our youth.
Well, good class here, and fun one to sort, fun one to look at, because the quality does run so deep out here. Calf I choose to lead off with is the one that's the biggest footed. He's the one that's the deepest in his heel and his rear too. He's the boldest in his rib cage. He's the biggest backed. He's the freshest backed. He's the biggest in his upper hip and pin set, and he's the most shapely in his stifle. For me, he probably needs to set his knee back just a little bit. I'm teetering as to whether or not that's enough or not enough. I wish he set it back and relaxed it a little more like the 1 and 2. But I tell you, just in terms of composition, in terms of cage, in terms of touch and shape, body type and dimension, that one gets him pretty fast there. That one's got a lot to him. You put your hands on him, there is no disappointment there. Neck comes right out the top of his blade. He's actually thinner in the top half of his neck than the one that comes to. That 1 and 2 is extra sound, extra good in terms of joint angles. I like the way that one gets around and moves. That one gets a little flatter in terms of his forerib and his cage comparative to our class winner. He's a little narrower in his upper hip and pin set. He's still bolder in his upper forerib and cage, and bolder at his rib eye and right there behind his blade back into his loin than the one that sets in 3. He's got more trueness just in terms of his cage, in terms of his underline, in terms of his flank. That's an awful nice one. Needs to be a little bigger footed. Comparative to our class winner, get right in behind him. Like to pull him apart just a bit in terms of his hip and pin set. Cool looking one comes next in class, and one that hits me just a little bit flatter from front to rear. I'd like to open that one up. In terms of his cage, I'd like to make him fuller and bigger at his ribeye right behind his blade. You set him in motion. He wants to push his loin up, roll his hip down just a bit. Not as true, just in terms of natural width and progression of width back out through his hip and pin set. I'd like to stouten that one up just a bit in the center of his body. If we can do that, open him up on either end of his skeleton, that one becomes more real, more genuine just in terms of his mass. Massive one comes next in class, but one that gets a little plainer in terms of his look and the way he comes out with his neck. He's lower set there at his brisket. He's shorter fronted. He's pretty honest in terms of how he handles, in terms of how he's fed. I think that one's done a great job for that young lady, and she's done an awful good job of getting him here, making him stick. He's just not long enough fronted. He's not true enough in terms of his show steer look and his ring presence out here comparative. Awful good carcass steer, if you will, and I appreciate all the value in that one. For me, he is truer in terms of his front two. He's better at his forerib. He's bolder at his forerib. He's a little neater looking, little leveler hip than the one that comes next in class. Young lady's got a nice one there that's fed good, big footed. That one gets a little flat in his upper forerib and cage. Doesn't show us as much punch, doesn't show us as much shape behind. Nice calf, just gets a little plainer in how he sits together. Young man's got one comes next in class, one for me that gets off behind his blade. He gets flat in his upper rib and wants to pinch there. We can change that about him, open him up in his cage. We can make that one move up in class. I'd like to square him up on both ends of his skeleton as we set him in motion. For me, his cutability wins him ahead of this char-colored steer out here. Charolais calf. Like the genuine body, like the stoutness, like the flexibility of that one. That one's got too much cover and condition, not enough true shape right behind his shoulder blade compared to those that come ahead in class. Good class out here. If you would, put your hands together and congratulate all these exhibitors.
Another outstanding class, and congratulations go to our top two finishes right there from Lander, Wyoming. Zach Preston with tag number 232, and your class champion comes to us from Geyser, Montana. That was Clay Harwood with tag number 224. That'll bring us to class number 3. Welcome, class number 3, to the Ford F-150 show ring. We welcome tag number 204 from Auburn, Wyoming, Oakley Hepworth. Tag number 235 from Newcastle, Wyoming, Cooper Miller. From Bridgeport, Nebraska, tag number 214, that is Kelsey McVicker. From Terrebonne, Oregon, tag number 206, Payson Stewart. From Basin, Wyoming, tag number 240, Wyatt Harrison. From Garland, Utah, tag number 200, Claire Daniels. And lastly, from Wheatland, Wyoming, tag number 234, Carly Jones. Again, welcome. Class number 4, you are on deck. Class 4, you're on deck. That'll be 210, 241, 213, 233, 203, 246 and 214. And again, a friendly reminder to you from upper management, if you would please make sure that the tag you are displaying on your person is the appropriate tag that coincides with the stock you are showing. Please and thank you. And we do want to thank Select Sires, offering an expanded sire lineup that includes more elite bulls from respected programs. Select Sires, calving ease, carcass cows. Stop by and see Jay Nansel at their booth in the trade show, or visit with your local Select Sire representative. Pine Coulee bulls, bred and tested for convenience, efficiency, and profit traits. Pine Coulee Bull sale will be March 13, 2023 at the Wagon Box Ranch in Hardin, Montana. This year, they are going to be selling 170 yearling bulls. Thank you to Jim Stampville and John Carroll, the Western Ag Reporters, serving the ag industry since 1940. Proud to be instrumental in starting the NILE, with founder Pat Goggins holding the #1 charter. Stop by their booth and sign up for your subscription today. Western Ranch Supply, serving the big country with quality and service you can trust. Stop into their West End store, located just off the Shiloh exit. It's a complete farm and ranch store, from vet supplies to show supplies, fencing, livestock equipment, saddles, tack. They've got a huge clothing department. Thank you to Rob Erickson, Keith Robinson, and Shane Vandevort. And also a thank you going out to Next Level Images. Next Level Images of Mount Pleasant, Texas. They're the exclusive photographers for our 2023 NILE Stock Show. They'll be set up down in the northeast corner of the Expo Center. They'll be getting pictures of everything that goes on here in the Ford F-150 show ring. So make sure that you stop down. I'll bet you they'll have some great pictures of you and your prize stock.
Well, another good class here. Differences in type and kinds, and one thing for certain, I like the kind of the young man that leads off the class here, just in terms of soundness, practicality, natural width, rib cage, and muscularity. That's a good kind and a logical place for me to start. He's really opened up behind his blade. He's big, big, big in terms of his loin edge. He's a little shorter fronted, a little plainer looking, if you will, than some that we have out here. But in terms of soundness and squareness and freshness, and you talk about shape right there, blade back, I think that's a good place to be. We could make him more extended, make him a little neater looking. And I think if you like that, you probably like the orange one a bit better. You get this one in motion. You read him in terms of his rear two. He doesn't hit square. He doesn't plant square and go square. You get on top of him and put your hands on him. He gives up quite a bit of shape to this one that leads off. He gets a little flatter behind his blade. He's not nearly as big in terms of his loin from his last rib back to his hip, but a good calf as well. I want to change him there in his rear two. I just want to put maybe a bit more punch from his last rib back up high, but good calf. He is sounder up front. He's better in his shoulder angle and knee than the one that comes next. He's a little softer spined and truer in his spine than the one that comes 3 in class. This 1 in 3 and likewise the 1 in 4, both of them get a little upright in terms of their skeleton. Use the one that's just a nickel more comfortable here in 3, one that's got truly just a bit better set in his shoulder angle and knee, one that functions just a bit truer out of his hock. He does get up in his spine a little. He gets his loin up just a bit. Sure would like to relax him. If we could just change his skeleton a bit, that one's got a tremendous amount of mass and shape. He's extremely bold, blade back, and I like that about him. He's actually got more to him from a composition standpoint than the 1 in 2, but he just doesn't go well enough. He is a bit sounder, as I said, than the 1 in 4. This 1 in 4 is monster back, monster ended, big shape, big stifle, lots of cutability in that guy. For me, he's just upright and he's hard in terms of his shoulder angle, his knee. It's a little harder flanked, a little straighter in terms of his hock. Want to relax that guy just a bit, make him a little more limber. If we can do that, we can move him up as well. Shorthorn colored steer comes next in class, and one that I like genuinely. She's done a nice job of feeding that calf. He's got about the right amount of condition on him. I think he'll rail a really nice carcass. He gets a little flatter in his cage. He gets tighter and drier in his flank. You get right in behind him. You can see as he moves, he wants to flatten in his stifle. Wedges from his hooks back to his pins compared to the 4 in front. Just gets out from a balance standpoint compared to those. He is chubbier. He's more ready to go than the blue roan or black roan that comes next in class. This one's big and extended. He's done a very good job of growing, but it's worked to his disadvantage here. He's pretty raw in terms of his shape, his touch. We have to put more composition in that one from a fat standpoint for me to think he gets close to getting into a choice yield grade. I've got to make that one just a whole lot fatter comparative to those that come in front. Gets a little plainer up front comparatively. He is stouter. He's more dimensional than the one that rounds out our class. He's bigger footed. He's bolder up high. He's bigger in his upper hip and pin set. Really sound, kind of practical calf the young lady has here. Rounds out the class. Just too plain in terms of shape, natural width, look from the side. Put our hands together for all these kids on a good class.
Another outstanding class. Congratulations go to take number 240. That's Wyatt Harrison out of Basin, Wyoming, with your reserve in the class. And the class champion is take number 235, shown by Cooper Miller of Newcastle, Wyoming. We will welcome to the Ford F-150 show ring at class number 4 coming up right here. Class number 4 consists of tag number 210, shown by Candace Hamilton of Hudson, Wyoming. Tag number 241, shown by Joshua Bartold of Benjamin, Utah. Tag number 213, Kyla Mather of Wilsaw, Montana. Tag 233, Megan Harris of Shoshone, Wyoming. Number 203, Kate Cordell of Cheney, Washington. Number 246, Megan Otis of Immigrant, Montana. And finally, tag number 214 of Bridgeport, Nebraska. This is Olivia Corman. Class number 4 next into the Ford F-150 show ring. A thank you to Rocky Mountain Compost for their continued support of the NILE. They've supplied all of the livestock bedding again this year, and Rocky Mountain Compost can dang sure supply all your livestock bedding too. They deliver to 7 states. Opportunity Bank. Opportunity Bank knows there's value in a trusted banking relationship. You've got the product and the people to support you, your family, and business. Opportunity Bank of Montana. And, of course, Showfresh H2O. Showfresh H2O is the solution to your livestock water drinking needs. By eliminating the chlorine in the water, it gets rid of the foul taste and smell that causes your animal not to drink it. Hydration is the key to success from the barn to the show ring. Showfresh H2O has helped exhibitors perform at the top level, bringing home countless championship banners. From coast to coast and border to border, Showfresh H2O is the most affordable and effective tool in your show box.
little really good pair here at the front of our class. They come out and circle those cattle right there, and I think the one that's no doubt more comfortable in his rear two and just comes square as you read him from his stifle to his hock and the surface, has no push, no shove outside, no bow, is that smoke steer here at the front. Extremely dynamic in terms of his shape from his blade back. He's big and bold and ripped up. He's neater at the point of his shoulder. Keeps his knee square set underneath his skeleton as he underneath his body as he goes, and for me, I think just handles his rear two a bit better when you get right in behind him. Big bold one, comes two in class, great big feet and legs. Gets a little base wide in front as you stand right in front of him. He just wants to push outside and walk on the outside edge of his hoof. He does the same thing in back, get down low in his skeleton, hock down. He wants to push and roll just a bit. Being critical of a really nice one, though. That is a big barrel, big back, stout-ended one. Young man does a great job of getting him presented. He's not quite as good-looking right up through the back side of his neck and the bottom side of his jawline, but an awful nice one there. Those two come in and they pair up together. They're high quality. There is some difference and some trade-offs in them, just like the movement of the young lady's gray one. That 1 and 2 beats that 1 and 3 because of his moderation of size, his natural width, his density, and his mass. This 1 and 3 is big and extended, cool looking, pretty sound and flexible in terms of how he moves and handles his skeleton. Get right on top of him. That one gives up too much width at his chest, too much width at his hip, too flat in terms of his cage compared to those that come in front of him. Good calf, just need to open him up from end to end, make him more dynamic in terms of back shape, upper hip shape, and stifle. We come next with a calf that's got a lot of body and barrel and mass to him. He teeters up front. We've got to get him set further back, his shoulder into his knee. He has made it to 1360, 70-ish. Big enough to kill, fat enough to kill. He's going to get to the choice grade, I think, and going to rail an extremely high cutability carcass. His skeleton just won't allow him to move higher up in class. Young man's baldy steer comes next. Pretty practical steer, one that's fed all right. Gets a little flatter in how he's designed, a little inverted in terms of underline and top line. Wants to roll a bit, but that one's got some positives to him. He's sound, he's pretty practical, he's functional, he's got some shape. He's got more muscle than the black one that comes behind him. He functions better off his rear two. Young lady's black steer with a white spot there in his lower chest behind his elbow. That one gets a little flat, a little light muscle comparative to the rest. Got to put more cover and condition on him. He's got to function better off of his rear two. Get straight in his hock, straight and rigid in his pastern, get on either end of him. We have to open that one up comparative. He is sounder, more practical out of his front end than the young ladies here that rounds out the class. This one's too far for me even to work up in class. He's too upright in his shoulder and knee. Wish we could set him back underneath him. That thing is bold-bodied, burly, big muscled. Got a lot of product to him. We just have to get him set back and make his front end operate a bit better. Let's put our hands together for all the kids in another nice class. Very competitive pair right there at the front.
Congratulations going to Joshua Bartold with tag number 241 out of Benjamin, Utah, finishing in the reserve position of the class. And Megan Harris, number 233 from Shoshone, Wyoming, finishing at the top of the class. Congratulations. We will move straight on forward then to class number 5. We'll welcome to the Ford F-150 show ring with tag number 209, Tanner Ellen out of Hobson, Montana. Tag number 245, Stephanie Pruitt from Park City, Montana. Number 217 will be Raylan Northington out of Burns, Wyoming. Maddie Flowers takes tag number 244 from Shepherd, Montana. Caden Gambula, tag number 237, also of Shepherd, Montana. From Encampment, Wyoming, we'll see tag number 221 and Kimber Hopkins. And Lauren Dewey, tag number 201 out of Laurel, Montana. This is Class 5. Class number 6, you're on deck. Class number 6, you are tags 229, 207, 225, 220, 223, 238, and 218. Class number 6. You are on deck. Up right now, again, this is class number 5. Les Schwab is proud to be a sponsor of the Northern International Livestock Exposition. Safety starts at Les Schwab, including tires, wheels, batteries, brakes, steering, alignment, and more. That is all at leschwab.com. And, of course, the Northern Ag Network, KGHL. NILE Stock Show is brought to you by the flagship station of the Northern Ag Network, home of the award-winning farm broadcasters like Taylor Brown, Coulter Brown, Andy Schwab, and Brett McCrae. They're at 790 on your AM dial or at 94.7 FM. Tri-State Livestock News. Tri-State Livestock News is the leading livestock publication in the upper Midwest. Over 60 years strong. They're published every Saturday. Tri-State Livestock News provides timely agribusiness news, rodeo updates, livestock market reports, and community event coverage in a 9-state region. You can visit them online at tsln.com or otherwise go over to their booth that is right near the entry of the Expo Center here. And if you are finding yourself a little bit chilly on this Montana fall afternoon, take heart because Tri-State Livestock Booth has some very, very cool sweatshirts over there. They are extremely pro-American beef. And you can show your support by getting yourself one of those great sweatshirts. Keep yourself warm and support the great American beef industry at the same time. Tri-State Livestock News.
Well, lots of differences out here in class, but the two that end up on the front end of the class certainly deserve to be here. The one that leads off is the one that's got the most to him just in terms of product from his blade back. That thing is big back. He's very, very fresh. He handles very good. He's sound in terms of how he handles his feet and legs. He's not perfect in the way he moves his hock around the ring, but he's not perfect in the way he moves that hock around the ring. He wants to maybe roll it just a bit. But you talk about one that's really practical, big in his cage, very fresh, much, much bigger backed, much more opened up behind his blade, bigger in his hip and pin set than the 1 and 2. Just, I think, a logical place to be. The one that comes to gets a little harder just in terms of his condition, not as opened up, not as big in his ribeye, not as big in his loin edge compared to the cattle on either side of him. He gets to second over the 1 and 3 because he is sounder in terms of his shoulder angle and his knees, more flexible on his pasterns. He's one that's just more practical, more useful for me as we set him in motion and move him around the ring. He gives up some shape and gives up some dimension comparative to the 1 and 3, but I think he deserves to be here because he is good in terms of his condition. He's fresh to the touch. He's sounder, more functional, more practical. This 1 and 3 is big back. That one's got a tremendous amount of shape. She's done a great job of feeding that one, getting him to here. You want to talk about one you think's going to get to the rails somewhere in that choice grade and is going to have a very high cutability carcass. Hey, that's him. But he gets a little plainer looking up through his neck and the base of his chest, gets a little rounder at his hip, if you will, and then set him into motion. That one of the top trio pulls his shoulder up, pulls his knee up forward, gets harder at the surface on both ends of his skeleton. We have to make that one a little more limber, make him work front to rear just a bit better, reach and go, push just a bit better. If we can do that, we can move that one up from a composition standpoint. I like that calf quite a bit. He's better at his shoulder, neater at his shoulder blade, stand right in front of him. He's more open in his forerib. He's way bigger back than the paint steer that comes 4 in class. Paint steering 4, big-footed. He, too, maybe needs to be a little more limber in terms of how he moves, but I fault him. He doesn't open with enough top shape right behind his shoulder, gets harder and harsher in terms of his forerib. Blade sets right out on the edge of his skeleton. Want to tuck everything back in, open him up in his cage, make him more genuine in his flank line. We can do those kinds of things. We get to move that one up just a bit as well. I think he is just a bit stouter. He's more dimensional. He's better in terms of function than those that come behind him in class. Baldy steer comes next in class, just gets a little plainer, a little harder, if you will, in his forerib, plainer looking at the back side of his neck, a little drier in his flank, a little rounder in his hip. Like to put some more condition in that one, wants just put more punch in him in terms of his loin from his last rib back. Young lady tied in the corner has one that just doesn't want to be a show steer today. That thing is big. He's extended. He's very, very powerful. He's been fed just about right. He's too upright in his shoulder blade and knee, too straight in his hock and pasturing. He doesn't want to be here, but his fault lies in the fact that he's just too upright and his skeleton doesn't go well enough. We've got another one, gets a little straight out of his front end. The plainest looking one here rounds out our class. That one's got to have more to him from a product-driven standpoint in an industry. We've got to open his top up. We've got to make him bigger, got to make him flatter back, bigger and more open in his pin set. He, too, has to be sounder off both ends of his skeleton. Let's put our hands together, congratulate these kids. Challenging class, really nice pair there at the front.
An outstanding class again with a couple of genuine standouts at top. Finishing in reserve, Caden Capula out of Shepherd, Montana with tag number 237. And then Raylan Northington finishes at the top of the class. Raylan comes to us of Burns, Wyoming with tag number 217. That'll bring us to class number 6. Class number 6 from Loma, Colorado. Echo Bartels with tag number 229. From Fairfield, Montana, Cayona Yeager with tag number 207. From Riverton, Wyoming, tag number 225, Danny Santee. Corbin Lucero comes with tag number 220 from Rangeley, Colorado. Geyser, Montana brings us Ross Harwood with tag number 223. Tag number 238 from Antola, Utah, and Deli Joe Pearson. And then Raylan Northington with tag number 218, Raylan from Burns, Wyoming. This is the second to last class in our Junior Fed Beef Show. Class number 7, you are on deck. You will be tags 242, 236, 228, 231, 222, and 202. A thank you to Best Western Clock Tower Inn, one of the NILE host hotels located in the heart of downtown building and connected to Stella's Bakery. The NILE has many exceptional hotel partners for your lodging needs. Next time you visit, please be sure to stay at one of these outstanding locations: the Northern Hotel, Residence Inn by Marriott, Billings Hotel and Convention Center, Doubletree by Hilton, Montana Trailhead Inn, Kelly Inn, and Town Place Suites. All outstanding selections when you need to spend the night, spend the week, heck, spend a couple of weeks right here in the Magic City. And a friendly reminder to our champions, reserve champion winners, please remember to visit the Livestock office and the Expo and pick up your champion jackets. And thank you to Deli O Western Wear for embroidering the special awards. And if you do plan to sell your animal at the Junior Fed Sale of Champions, please be sure to complete the yellow sale nomination form stating that you wish to sell and submit it at the Livestock Office Expo. And just a reminder to you, the Grand and Reserve market animals are required to sell. And the deadline to submit for the lambs and steers is by 6 p.m. this evening. Swines and goats, you have until 4 o'clock tomorrow afternoon.
Well, ever so often you get to evaluate class that you really, really enjoy and appreciate top to bottom. Go ahead and bring them on around. Let's fishtail them all the way around. And then you talk to a young man like this on the end that's done a hell of a job feeding that calf and has a really good one. And somebody is going to be dead last in this class. And that's not fun for a judge to do. That's not fun for a person that works with young people, appreciates the effort that they put in and understands what goes into making one look like this. And then you've got to tell somebody, hey, you're going to be last out here. So I can tell you, as a father of girls at show, and it's not easy, it's not fun, it's not an enjoyable thing, particularly for somebody to have to do, but this is the way I see them. I'll tell you what I see. Agree, disagree, that's okay. But this is what I see in a very, very good class, a class that you hope you get to see from a quality standpoint. One that leads off, that one wins. I'm just going to tell you, feet and leg structure, balance, body type, dimension, back shape, flexibility, mellow to the touch, right kind of look, right kind of design, right kind of reach and go off both ends of his skeleton. That is a big time steer in my opinion. When you put your hands on him, if that one doesn't make you giddy, then you and I don't see livestock the same. That thing spreads so big right there in front of his hip. He gets so massive as he runs up to his blade. And then you find one in here that's better at his shoulder blade and how it lays into his neck and into his forearm. There's not one. That thing is big time in my opinion. Love the way he moves, love the way he looks, love the way he handles. Is he the biggest backed one? Yes. Is he the best looking one? Sure he is. Is he the best moving one? Absolutely. Hard to get that in that package. I like that one a bunch. That one that comes two in class, mammoth backed, big opened up, really proportional. He works his back leg better, no doubt, than the 1 in 3. He's a little moderate in terms of his size. Doesn't give you the profile or the look that we see in our class winner, but that's an awful good one. Very, very cagey, very big and expressive to the touch. More functional out of his rear too than the one that comes 3. This 1 in 3 is really wide. He's really good in terms of his look from the side. Set him in motion. He doesn't move his back wheel the way I want him to. Get right on top of him and handle him and touch him. Hey, that one gives up too much shape compared to the front 2 in class. He wants to come right in and his blade gets flat, a little more apex behind his shoulder. That's not the kind of cattle I like, particularly when we're weighing 1,400. Thing's got to open with more punch right behind his shoulder blade. Come to number next, number 4. Calf looks good from the side, real practical, real useful. Probably has more top shape than the one directly in front of him right behind his blade. He gets narrow on either end of his skeleton, wants to close up at his chest, wedges back into his pin set. He's more attractive in his look. He's more youthful through his shoulder and the crest of his neck than the one directly behind him. That one that comes behind him, boy, that's a good meat and potatoes kind of calf, big rib, gets a little rougher at his tail head. Like the flexibility in that guy, just gets plainer looking, gets a little trashy for me, or wasty. I shouldn't have said trashy, sorry. Gets a little wasty in his lower third. Just for me, I think just doesn't have the dynamic look I want to see in one. Gets a little plainer, if you will. I think he's better, no doubt, out of his rear too. He's bigger in his upper hip. He's better in his hock than the one directly set behind him. Nice calf from a muscularity standpoint. Get right into his hip and hind leg. Boy, he gets pretty plain, pretty wedgy from hooks to pins. Pretty plain in terms of how he handles his hock. I think he is still better out of his front two and his front end, out of his shoulder blade than the young man's here with the Char Cross. That one's big cage, big shape, fed pretty appropriately. For me, he gets up in his blade, wants to not move quite as good in terms of his reach and go out front. Gets a little plainer at the backside of his neck, if you will. Good cattle here. Put your hands together for these kids. Great job that they've done. Very good class.
Always one of my very favorite shows of the whole week. This one right here, the Junior Fed, and I think you can see why. Just a phenomenal set of cattle that we've had to look at this afternoon. We're not done yet. Finishing in reserve right there, Danny Santee of Riverton, Wyoming with tag number 225. And out of Loma, Colorado, our class champion, Echo Bartles with tag number 229. That's going to bring us to the final class, class number 7. We'll welcome tag 242 of Benjamin, Utah. That'll be Kinley Bartold. Number 236 out of Mallet City, Idaho, Alexis Shaw. Number 228 shown by Echo Bartles of Loma, Colorado. Huntley, Montana's Tommy Cook brings us tag number 231. Clayton Yoder with tag number 222. Clayton from Meeteetse, Wyoming. And then Haley Barr, tag number 202 of Culver, Oregon, will complete the class. Again, this is our final class in the Junior Fed Beef Show. We will select our overall champion and reserve following this class right here. And a shout out again to Agribest Feeds. Agribest Feeds is proud to sponsor the NILE show and your local Aeroquip dealer. Aeroquip is the most innovative livestock handling chute on the market. You can look them over for yourself. The 8700 manual chute is in the Agribest Feeds booth across from the show ring, and the full line of Aeroquip chutes on the grounds by the Montana Pavilion. Check out our ad on the back of the NILE Premier Magazine or stop by and visit with Agribest Feeds team at their booth across from the show ring. We need all of the first and second place finishers from these subclasses back to the F-150 show ring for selection of your overall champion. So tag 216, Bridger Smith. Tag number 247, Jamin Anderson. Tag 232, Zach Weston. And tag 224, Clay Harwood. Tag 235, Cooper Miller. Tag 240, Wyatt Harrison. Tag 241, Joshua Bartold. And tag 233, Megan Harris. Tag number 217, Raylan Northington. And tag number 237, Caden Kumpula. Tag number 229, Echo Bartles. And tag number 225, Danny Santee. We need you good folks back up to the staging area, please, for selection of our overall champion and reserve in the Junior Fed Beef Show.
All right, let's go ahead and pull those other three, that trio back around. I told this young man when I went up there and handled that calf, I said, I think it's all going to work out for you, son. Just keep your cool, and we'll get out here, and I think it's logical it works out for him. If you ask me, I mean, that's the one that's the most appropriate size. That's the one that balances up nice. That's the one that moves the best out here. He's got the most flex in his skeleton. Hey, I think that worked out pretty well for him. He's better in his center of his cage. He's better right behind his shoulder just from a softness standpoint than the 1 and 2. He's sounder than the 1 and 3. I think it's just logical we set him right there. That one that comes to, that is a stout sucker. That thing is big-footed, and he's really robust in his cage from a roundness standpoint. For me, he gets a little harder just in his underline. I think we could make him much more flexible out of his front end. Could certainly just soften him in terms of depth of his center. But that's a nice calf. He's got more flex out of his shoulder and his knee than the one that comes, and his hock than the 1 and 3. The 1 and 3, that is the stoutest one. There's no doubt. That's the biggest footed, the biggest back, the burliest one, and he handles pretty dang appropriate for one that weighs what he weighs. But I'd like to set his knee under him. I'd like to fix him in terms of his hock and his joint work, just make him free him up, make him go just a bit better. White steer comes 4. One that just gets a little plain, if you will. Pretty sound on both ends of his skeleton. There is up, gets plain in terms of his look. Just want to make him a little higher cutability. Similar game with the orange one comes behind him. We need to open that one up underneath in terms of his natural width from end to end. He gets a little wasty in his lower third as well. Gets a little plainer, if you will. And then we round out our class with a really big bone stout one. Weighs 15 and a half or right in that range. For me, that one's just too hard, too harsh in terms of his body type. Not enough covering condition. So nice class, good place to start. Nice trio there at the front. Let's put our hands together for those kids.
An outstanding class there to finish our Junior Fed Beef Show, finishing in the reserve, tag number 228. Echo Bartles of Loma, Colorado, and Tommy Cook wins the class with tag 231. Tommy from Huntley, Montana. Let's welcome back to the Ford F-150 EcoBoost Show Ring all those that are in contention for selection of overall and reserve overall champion here in the Junior Fed Beef Show. Again, from class number 1, that's tag 216 and 247. From class number 2, it's tag 232 and 224. From class number 3, 235 and 240. From class number 4, it's tag 241 and 233. From class number 5, tags 217 and 237. From class number 6, tags 229 and 225. And from that final class, class number 7, tag 228 and tag number 231.
Well, let's put our hands together for all these young people that have won out here, that won their class, and let's go ahead and put our hands together for those with the seconds. In fact, every kid that made it in the ring with one today, sure appreciate their efforts. Great set of young people you have here to work with in your junior fed market beef, I think is what you call it. We just call them market steers, but boy, it's been fun. It's been a really good set. It's been enjoyable to sort. I do want to say thanks, and I neglected that in my sheep show spiel. I want to say thanks to everybody that's helped to make this what it is here. I appreciate all of the work and the effort in those lining cattle up, getting them in and out here. I know that's not easy, and it makes it fun to sort when you turn around and there's another class and they're loaded and they're ready to go. Appreciate that. I appreciate all of you that come out and support these young people, support these kids. There's nothing finer that you can do than support youth, and it's a great way to do it, raising young people with livestock, and in this case with market steers. I think it's a fantastic thing what you're doing here. It's how we chose to raise our children, and now getting to see our kids raise our grandkids in this lifestyle. Back to the cattle. Boy, I think it's a good set. There were some extremely competitive classes, some differences that we saw in those classes, and agree, disagree. Hey, that's all right. Everybody drove up here in some kind of vehicle, and you probably picked what you drove up here in, and hey, I picked what I drive at home, and I'm sure somebody here has a sports car, and I'm not a sports car guy. So if you're going to the car show and you're bringing one to me, that's not the kind to bring to me. So we can all have our opinion. We can agree to disagree. The best thing that we need to do is support youth and support the program, support the project, support the industry. And if we do that, don't lose focus of what we're doing, then really maybe the thing that matters the least today is just my opinion of the livestock you're holding. But once again, it's been fun. I talked about each one of these in class. Like them, love them, hate them. That's the way I liked them. I'm proud of these that came back out of their classes. I'm proud of them when I put my hands on them. I think they've done a nice job of getting to this point. There's one out here that I think's just better than the rest. I'm going to go congratulate that exhibitor. We're going to pull a second back in, and I'm going to take a second look, and then I'm going to get you a reserve as well. If you would, once again, put your hands together for all these kids.
Senior Showman, please have your hammer cocked. You're going to be starting immediately following a selection of reserve champion right here. Senior Showmanship, Jamin Anderson, Joshua Bartold, Cale Cordill, Wyatt Harrison, Jolene Herman, Corbin Lucero, Alexis Shaw, and Zach Weston. You are first out in our Senior Showmanship. Please be ready.
Well, for me, it tightens up pretty close out here in terms of reserve. Here's another one that comes extremely big back, extremely fresh, very, very good in terms of center body, cage shape, smoothness, the way their shoulder blends in. I think it just maybe have a notch more punch, if you will, blade back, and really a notch more market ready. If you would, help me congratulate this young lady with the gray steer in front of me. She'll be your reserve.
Congratulations to Megan Harris right there with tag number 233 out of Shoshone, Wyoming. She is reserve. And Echo Bartels with tag number 229 out of Loma, Colorado, finishing at the top. Excuse me, with tag number 228 out of Loma, Colorado, finishes at the top as the champion. Echo, it was explained that I was mispronouncing your name. I certainly do apologize. Things like that are simply inexcusable. We will go to Jamin Anderson, Joshua Bartold, Cale Cordill, Wyatt Harrison, Jolene Herman, Corbin Lucero, Alexis Shaw, and Zach Weston to start our first subclass of Senior Showmanship. Prior to Senior Showmanship, we are going to have pictures at the backdrop. Prior to the showmanship, we'll do pictures at the backdrop. We are ready to welcome in our first class of senior showmanship. That being from Riverton, Wyoming, Jamin Anderson. From Benjamin, Utah, Joshua Bartold. Cade Cordell from Cheney, Washington. From Basin, Wyoming, Wyatt Harrison. From St. Xavier, Montana, Jolene Herman. From Rangeley, Colorado, Corbin Lucero. From Mellon City, Idaho, Alexis Shaw and Zach Watson of Lander, Wyoming.
Well, I'll explain to you what I'm going to do as these heats come in. I'm going to grab the ones that grab me. I'm going to put them on the side. That's going to be finalists to come back. We're going to clap for everybody in the ring, excuse everybody, and those that I pull out of each heat will be finalists back in the ring here in a minute whenever we finish this senior group. A couple of them out here I think stand out just a little bit more. I'll grab those and we'll excuse the rest. Nice job to all of you. Congratulations on getting here and doing such a nice job.
Senior class number 2. We're going to welcome you in. That'll be Haley Barr of Culver, Oregon. Phelan Searcel of Chinook, Montana. Davey Frost of Cowley, Wyoming. Clay Harwood of Geyser, Montana. Kimber Hopkins of Encampment, Wyoming. Chelsea McVicker of Bridgeport, Nebraska. Bridger Smith of Payson, Utah, and Trevor Williams of Riverton, Wyoming. You are subclass number 2, and the show ring is open to you. Subclass number 3, you're on deck. You'll be Echo Bartles, Hadley Cooper, Megan Harris, Ross Harwood, Carly Jones, Megan Onus, Peyton Stewart, and Kiana Yeager. We're going to welcome in subclass number 3. Therein lies Loma, Colorado's Echo Bartels. Powell, Wyoming's Hadley Cooper. Megan Harris of Shoshone, Wyoming. Ross Harwood of Geyser, Montana. Carly Jones of Wheatland, Wyoming. Megan Otis of Immigrant, Montana. Peyton Stewart of Terrebonne, Oregon. And Kiona Yeager of Fairfield, Montana. And thus concludes our subclasses for senior showmanship. We're going to bring the top 3 in from each of those subclasses. At which point, Mr. Martin is going to make his selection for our senior showmanship champion. So we welcome back from subclass number 1, Jamin Anderson of Riverton, Wyoming, Joshua Bartold of Benjamin, Utah, and Zach Watson of Lander, Wyoming. From subclass number 2, Haley Barr of Culver, Oregon, Clay Harwood of Geyser, Montana, and Kimber Hopkins of Encampment, Wyoming. And from the final subclass, from subclass number 3, Echo Bartels of Loma, Colorado, Cooper Hadley of Powell, Wyoming, and Ross Harwood, Hadley Cooper, that is, of Powell, Wyoming, and Ross Harwood of Geyser, Montana.
Well, an incredible set of senior showmen out here. Each and every one of them's obviously getting it done, and I can tell you individuals that y'all have multiple fans around the ring that think you're the best out here, and that's cool. That's a good thing for you, and I'm proud of you for the quality of time and the work ethic that you have put in. I will tell you this: you're exceptional at your trade, and I appreciate that. And it means a lot to a judge to get to sort of show and to get in and really get to look at livestock when real quality showmen are putting them together. That makes it tremendous, and it's been a lot of fun here. I will say this. Each one of you at a certain point in time, I'm sure, was winning this in my mind and probably got beat in my mind. And so take that to heart. Very, very high quality set of you. Just some of you do things maybe a little different or a little better, and it may just be I caught you at a bad time. You know, come up from behind you and you're a little wide up front, or you're a little base narrow up front, or you short your front foot when I walk behind you. Seems insignificant to you. I'm on the other end, but it's significant to me. So those are some of the things that I saw and watch come in. Some of you need to work on your neck carriage and your headset when we're on the move. Some of you need to work on your pace when we're on the move. Some of you maybe let their top line get a little lazy when we get standing still. Need to work on that. Maybe one or two of you need to hit a loin a little more appropriate time. But awful good showman out here. I'm going to pick a champ in a reserve. I want to shake each one of your hands and congratulate you. I'm going to get one champ and one reserve first, and then I'll walk back to the front of the line. Thank each and every one of you for doing such an outstanding job here.
Congratulations to your reserve showman champion, Zach Weston of Lander, Wyoming, and Ross Harwood of Geyser, Montana takes the crown for senior showmanship. Congratulations. We will give our senior showman just a half a minute to clear the Ford F-150 show ring, and then we're going to bring in our first class of junior showmanship. There are two classes of junior showmanship. The first one we will welcome in is Josie Elmond of Ellensburg, Washington. Kinley Bartold of Benjamin, Utah. Olivia Corman of Bridgeport, Nebraska. Maddie Flowers of Shepherd, Montana. From Auburn, Wyoming, Oakley Hepworth. Cooper Miller of Newcastle, Wyoming. Deli Joe Pearson of Altona, Utah. Denny Santee of Riverton, Wyoming, and Clayton Yoder of Meeteetse, Wyoming. You are our first class, subclass in the junior showmanship. As subclass number 1 makes their exodus from our show ring, we're going to welcome subclass number 2 in the junior showmanship, Tanner Allen of Hobson, Montana. Violet Browning of Livingston, Montana. From Garland, Utah, Claire Daniels. Cadence Hamilton of Hudson, Wyoming. Kyla Mather of Wilsaw, Montana. From Burns, Wyoming, Rayla Northington. From Park City, Montana, Stephanie Pruitt. And finally, Bob Smega out of Belgrade, Montana, your second subclass. We're going to bring back into the Ford F-150 show ring right here Kinley Bartold from subclass number 1, as well as Matty Flowers, Cooper Miller, and Danny Santee. And from subclass number 2, Tanner Ellen, Kyla Mather, and Raylan Northington.
Well, put your hands together if you're still around the ring for these young people here coming out of your junior group. All your finalists out here, I think, are doing a really nice job. For me, I think there's a couple that come back out, probably do a better job with front feet placement. It's critical, when a judge comes behind you. If they always moving around, they come around the front, you don't have your stock set, then it always looks a little off, if you will. We got all these back out, give them all a chance to do their best. I'm proud of them. I think they are doing a great job. There's a couple that I feel like probably maybe just did a better job of setting front feet, both here in profile and as I came around behind them and before we actually moved them to make our loop to profile. So very, very good elite set of you out here. Congratulations to you. I'll show you the two that I like the best.
Congratulations to your junior showmanship reserve champion right there, Cooper Miller of Newcastle, Wyoming, and your junior showmanship champion, Kinley Bartold of Benjamin, Utah. Also, I do want to give a congratulations to Lauren Dewey of Laurel, Montana. She is your beginner showmanship champion. She showed in there with the junior showman. She's elected not to come back in for the beginner showmanship, but she is the beginner showmanship champion. Congratulations, Lauren Dewey. Well, showmen and showwomen, that does bring us to the conclusion of our Saturday at the NILE for 2023. We are coming back tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. We've got the AOB show kicking off right here for a Sunday morning at 8 o'clock. And we look forward to seeing you there. Between now and then, enjoy your evening. Go on, head across the way to the Metro, take in the Pro Rodeo. And we look forward to seeing you right back here tomorrow morning. Enjoy Billings, Montana, and have a fantastic evening.